All right, this is headlines where Kwab and I. This is funny because we make up headlines and then we have the audacity to ask you, "Is this fake news?"
It's all fake. We're making this
It's
up.
all fake.
It's all
None of
fake.
this makes sense. But headline is given. We ask if this is real or fake news. Kwab, you ready for the first headline?
Let's do it.
All right, first headline reads, "New team, new coach. Thibs not the man for the job." This is hinting that Tom Thibodeau should be fired as a New York Knicks head coach. Kwab, is this real or fake news?
Well, it's technically fake news, but it's also, for me, it's fake news. If you're a Knicks fan, do you guys remember what life before Thibs was?
Don't talk. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about it.
I'm just
No.
now
No. No.
the horror. No, no. Now I know that this season has been, for better words, a struggle because it hasn't gone according to how you guys envisioned it. Because after making these big trades, a lot of Knicks fans felt that, hey, we have a championship contender. We have the makings of a team that can really like compete with like the Boston in the East and make a run in the playoffs. This team from the first game, I remember the first game we did a recap against the Celtics. It was just like, wait, this is not
This is not what I envisioned.
this is not what I signed up for.
I don't mind y'all losing by 9.
This doesn't
But
look
to
right.
get smacked like this? That's
Yes,
crazy.
That's crazy. But
Yeah.
then like a couple of games after, like you see them like beat up on like the Pacers and other teams, and you're like, okay, this looks better.
Yeah.
And to me, I've said this every time we talk about the Knicks. I'm like, they're an inconsistent team. Part of that has to do with them being new pieces and trying to fit them together. Part of that has to do with the way Thibs decides to play his starters 60 minutes in every game, which is
By the way, this
wild.
segment's going to be 45 minutes. Just to honor Thibs.
Just to honor Thibs, just, you know what I mean? And then, when quote unquote the big games happen, it always feels like a big letdown, like against the Thunder, against the Celtics, when you feel like, hey, maybe we should look a little bit more competitive. It hasn't gone that way. I still think there's a good team there. You have good pieces. Got to figure out the defense. That's been my thing. Y'all got to figure out the defense, whatever it is. Got to figure out the defense, and then also got to figure out the building a bench. Part of that will have to do with Mitchell Robinson getting healthy. Part of that will have to do with Thibs not being so stubborn. But you can't change that. I don't know, but I don't think Thibs should get fired because when people say that, I'm like, who are you gonna get? Who's the other
Dude, let's
option?
go get Johnny Bryant back from the Cavs.
Nah, get Steve Nash. Go get Steve Nash.
All right, stop. No. No. God, no.
God no.
Listen, this is fake news.
Fake
This is
news.
terrible. If you're a Knicks fan who's calling for Tom Thibodeau to be fired, you should be absolutely ashamed of yourself. It's
Damn.
delusional. It's insane. I have my criticisms of him too.
Yeah.
It does make me uncomfortable how much these players play, specifically the starting five. That is a little uncomfortable. But there are new players who are trying to get acclimated with each other. And Tibbs' job is to get everybody on the same page defensively. But how can you get on the same page defensively when the guy you got to be a defensive stopper dies on screens? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of this is players, too. I'm somebody, I don't call for coaches to get fired until it's like the last option or until it's really obvious that you're the one messing this whole thing up. And that rarely happens, if I'm being honest with you. Right now, the problem with the Knicks is a player problem, in my opinion. The players who are supposed to be wing stoppers aren't being wing stoppers right now. Now, you can say that maybe they're overworked. That could be an issue. Well, then the roster's an issue because Thibs is not playing the bench. Well, why is Thibs not playing the bench? Because he obviously doesn't trust anybody on the bench. Last year, we were going 10, 11 deep.
Yeah.
The Knicks were going 10, 11 deep last year. Tibbs had no problem playing the bench last year. None whatsoever. So Tibbs showed you, if I have a bench I can trust, I will play the bench. And I kind of agree with him. I don't like this Knicks bench. This Knicks bench is awful. It's awful. And part of it is Mitch is hurt. I understand that. But Mitch is a center. Like, I'm talking about, like, guard play and wing play. The Knicks need some type of reinforcement at the trade deadline, or this team's just not going to be what the Knicks fans think they're going to be. This team is not as good as a Knicks fan thought they were going to be. And that's just the reality of the situation. And instead of actually accepting that, Knicks fans are just pointing their ire in the direction of anyone they can. And right now, that's Tom Thibodeau, because he's an easy target.
Yep.
And I just don't think it's right. I mean, you said it before. Where would this Knicks organization be without Tom Thibodeau? Seriously. Seriously.
Who,
They,
do you
and I
guys
understand,
remember the Knicks before Tom
yeah,
Thibodeau?
and you don't get paid for the past. I understand that. Like, if you're not the man for the job anymore, like that's another story. But what makes you think the Knicks are 27-16? Knicks fans are talking about them like they're 500. This team is on pace to have a better record than they had last year. A team that we loved. I just think it's unfortunate because we thought the Knicks were championship contenders coming into the season, and they're not. And I don't think that's a Thibs issue. I think that's a roster issue. Cat has been out. When Cat's out, the Knicks aren't as good. They lost to the Wolves. I'm not saying they would have beat the Wolves with Cat there, but they killed them in Minnesota when Cat played. Yeah. I know that. Cat is our best, you can argue, second best offensive player, depending on how you look at it. I mean, he opens up the whole floor. So he's not there. What is our offense going to look like? Plus, now we have to play people more minutes on a thin bench already. So a lot of it is, some of it is health, Cat's health. Some of it is just new players being acclimated into a new situation. And this is a different team. And we say this over and over again. The Cavs have continuity. The Pacers from last year have continuity. The Celtics have continuity. You're going against teams. You're expected to beat teams that have been playing with each other for a few years, who know each other, who have chemistry. No. The Knicks don't have that right now. They threw that all away for a concept. And maybe that was going to work. Maybe it wasn't. Who knows? Maybe it takes a couple years for it to work. But it's not working right now. And to me, that's the real problem. You had chemistry. You tore it apart. Now you have to rebuild chemistry. Can they do it? I don't know. I don't think they'll do it this year, but that's not Thibodeau's fault. You can't just bring in a Kenny Atkinson and expect something to happen. Kenny Atkinsons don't grow on trees. Kenny Atkinson's somebody who we and other people were like, why does this man not have a head coaching job? Yeah. It is not shocking what's going on in Cleveland. There's not another Kenny Atkinson out there that can just replace Tom Thibodeau and take the Knicks to another level. This has been a historically good offense for most of the season. So, what are we talking about here? Just bear through it. Hopefully, Leon gets some reinforcements at the deadline, and you go from there. But major fake news. Any Knicks fan saying this should be ashamed of themselves.
Did you have any worry when you saw that? I guess that Josh Hart quote that was kind of making its rounds after the loss, when he was basically talking about players need to learn how to sacrifice. It felt like cliche. It felt like a cliche kind of statement, but also felt like it might have been targeted at somebody. I don't know.
It was targeted at somebody.
Yeah.
Who it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he's thinking about somebody.
He's thinking about somebody, yeah.
He's not just saying things off the top of his head and just generalizing.
Yeah.
And if he's talking about the team in general, that's even worse because now you're talking about multiple people.
Yeah.
So I don't know who he's talking about. I'm not going to speculate who he's talking about. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know these guys. I don't know their relationships with each other. All I know that this team was like this last year. It's not like that anymore. Sometimes it is. The vibes aren't bad. The vibes are just kind of like, yo, what's going on? Sometimes this is good, sometimes it's not. I don't understand what's going on. It's just confusion. Yeah. And again, it's going to take, I don't think Knicks fans want to hear this, but it's going to take more than 1 year for this team to get used to each other. It just is. And they need to get deeper.